Hello and welcome. You're watching The Urban Debate. I'm Avni Raja. Today we put the spotlight on an issue which has been debated and discussed a lot. However, a lot still needs to be done surrounding this issue, and that is the issue of air pollution. The World Health Organization has now toughened up the guidelines of what poor air quality means and said that over 7 million people lose their lives every year as a result of air pollution. And the impact of air pollution is much more serious than what was earlier envisaged. Now, if we use these new parameters to determine what the quality is of air pollution in India, almost all of India, 95% of the country is considered a polluted zone. The festive season and winter will be here soon. The stubble burning time is also round the corner as well, and all of these usually come together and are big contributing factors to why we see this deterioration in the air quality in the country. Now, unfortunately, we often see emergency measures that are implemented that are done only after the situation becomes bad and goes from bad to worse. It's not done before, when things are not too bad and when all of these things should actually be implemented. And that's not even the worst of it. The worst is that many of these measures are simply band-aid solutions, and they don't look at or don't address the root cause of the problem that pollution really is. And even worse than that is that every year around this time and in the next few months to come, we see blame games being erupting between states, one government blaming the other, and nobody really coming together to try and address this issue. Now, just to put some numbers here to understand where we stand as far as air pollution is concerned. Delhi pollution is 17 times more than the recommended level. If you look at Mumbai, it's 8 times. Kolkata, 9 times. Chennai, 5 times. And another important fact here is that the current levels in India are even higher than WHO's 2005 standards. So even what it was earlier, we are much higher than that. India, in fact, last revised its air pollution standards back in 2009. So, multiple questions that we need to ask at this point in time, because we need to take this seriously and take it as a warning sign. Will that happen is the big question. Is it not time now to revise our own air quality standards so that we can aspire to a better air that we all breathe? And when will tokenism actually end and real steps begin with respect to the air quality issue? All of these are important factors that we are going to discuss over the next hour or so. Let me straight welcome my guests who are joining in today. Tuhin Sinha of the BJP, Ravi Srivastava, political analyst, Dr. B. Sengupta, former member secretary of the Central Pollution Control Board. We've got also Professor Arun Srivastava, School of Environmental Sciences, JNU, as well as Dr. Praveen Chandra, Chairman in Interventional Cardiology and Structural Heart Diseases, Medanta, is joining us as well. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us on this very important debate and discussion, really. Let me start here with Dr. Sengupta. With respect to what the WHO has said, of course, it is an advisory. It is not binding upon any country. But nonetheless, it needs to serve as an important reminder of where we stand with respect to air pollution. The fact that there are millions and millions of lives every year that are being lost.
Thank you for inviting me in this very important discussion today on air quality standard, which has been WHO has issued. I would like to state 2 or 3 points, very important. The WHO Air Quality Standard 2021, which they have given the 4 interim standard, 4 steps after to achieve this final standard. That is, if you take the PM 2.5, which is ultimately they have given a standard of 5, but they have given the 4 interim one, 35, 25, 15 and 10. So we have to see in totality the report. We should not jump the final figure and then start comparing with the Indian standard. Now the second thing which is very important is our country is a tropical country. The concentration of the particulate matter, the dust, are high due to the tropical nature. And if you see the lockdown period in 2020, when everything was standstill, no industries were there, no vehicles was flying, we have taken the measurement, Central Pollution Control Board, And we have found that the background level of pollution itself for PM 2.5 is varying from 22 to 28 micrograms. That means if you believe if you want to adopt the WHO standard, if you stop everything, then also you cannot meet. So the point is that the WHO air quality standard may not be very much applicable in our country, tropical country like India. The second point I want to mention is the meteorological condition. It plays a very important in India, especially the North India. During the winter, the low mixing height, pollutants are not dispersed, and whatever the wind speed is become very, very low. It is calm condition. So pollutants don't move. It is trapped in that boundary layer. So these are the meteorological conditions. Nobody can do anything on this. And we are going to expect this high pollution in the winter level. So you can see that this WHO air quality standard, which is mainly based on the European countries, where the whole year they get some small rain and the pollutants are washed out, and dust are not airborne, soil are not airborne. In our country, it is entirely different. So what I want to say that the WHO air quality standard may not be fully applicable in our country, but true that we want to stringent our standard, and also we want to take more pollutants. So two recommendations from my side. One is that already our Indian Association for Air Pollution Control already taken up this matter. They have organized a large workshop last year and recommended that this IIPC has a 600 scientists and engineers working in the field of air pollution control. And they have concluded, they have recommended to CPCB that WHO air quality standard may not be applicable in our country. We should have our own standard based upon our own condition, number one. Number two, the toxic components of air pollution should also be included, like benzene, sulfur, pyrene, heavy metals, etc., which the WHO has not recommended. I think in our condition, these pollutants are more important, these things. And already CPCB has taken up this matter. And there is a group is working in CPCB with IIT Kanpur to give the India's next standard. I think by next year, they will issue the standard. So this is my initial comments on the WHO air quality standard. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Professor Srivastava, yes, point taken that maybe WHO standards cannot be directly, correlated to what the Indian environment really is. But just the fact that WHO has found it necessary to sort of, change the parameters of what qualifies as bad quality air, the fact that it says this is a much more graver problem than what was earlier envisaged, and the situation that we see year after year after year in India, all of this combined should really serve as a warning signal, should serve as red flags that this issue needs to be taken much more seriously than we are right now.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Let me tell you, last year in 2020, Delhi alone, 54,000 people died because of air pollution. Across India, there were 1.2, I'm sorry, it is around 12 million persons died because of air pollution. Before that, in 2019, 17 million people died because of air pollution. So now you can understand what is the seriousness, what is the level of air pollution in India. Across India, every third death occurs due to air pollution. So let me tell you, air pollution is the major concern in India. It has to be taken seriously. Unfortunately, as far as Indian agencies are concerned, whether it is CPCB or other nodal agencies, after 2002 or 3, I exactly do not remember the year, but I think after 2002, they haven't revised the standards. All the number of vehicles, especially in metro cities, have risen significantly, exponentially, rather I'll say. It was some 20 or 30 million, 30 million in 2002 or 1. Now there are 12 million vehicles in Delhi. So they have risen exponentially. Accordingly, they should have revised the air quality standards. But perhaps now they are in the process to revise the air quality standard. Maybe they will take 2 or 3 years. And it is not India only. Across the globe also, air pollution is one of the major killers. Although we can't say that air pollution directly kills, But many other causes of deaths might be related to air pollution, whether it is heart diseases, kidney diseases, or other lifestyle diseases. Anyhow, it is linked with air pollution. So whatever WHO has done, it is a welcome step. I think they have done a very good job because it was necessary to revise the air quality standards. And as far as Sel Gupta told, yes, indeed, India's climate is comparatively different than European nations or America, where they do the survey and afterwards they give some kind of standards or prescribed limits. So we can't actually match with them. Our situation, our climatic conditions are such that we cannot go at par with them. So accordingly, some relief should be there. But let me tell you, WHO has reduced the PM 2.5. Actually, that is actually a matter of concern, and that was covered in more or less all the newspapers.
Yes.
So it was 10 micrograms per meter cube, and from there, they have reduced it to 5 micrograms per meter cube. And India's standard, which was actually came into force in 2002 or 3, that was 60 micrograms per meter cube, 40 or 60, depending upon the areas, what kind of area they are actually checking. So still it is 8 times. I mean, India's standard is 8 times more than that of WHO's present recommended level. If you go to the previous recommended level, that was 10 micrograms per meter cube. Still, it was 4 times. 4 times as far as PM 2.5 is concerned. It's a very significant difference.
Yes.
Because PM 2.5 is, I told you that it is the air pollution is the major reason for deaths across the globe. PM 2.5 has direct health implication because it can penetrate into the deeper portions of our lung. It can even go into the bloodstream. So if they are toxic in nature, fortunately, if we are fortunate enough that, as Sir told, that we are a tropical country, mostly we are having dust. But if they are dust, then it's fine. But if they are toxic in nature, maybe some kind of industrial origin or even soot particles, carbon particles, then, and if that goes into our into the deeper parts of our lung, then that can be fatal. It might cause chronic or acute diseases. So taking a step is necessary.
All right.
Some reason is required. Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Dr. Sengupta, you wanted to make a point very quickly. I'll open up, after that, I'll open up the discussion to our other guests as well.
I want to give 2 clarifications. That Indian standard was last revised in 2009, not 2002. And second thing, the WHO recommended...
I didn't know actually, even 2009 is 12 years back. So it's already 12 years.
That's true. And WHO standard was 2005. Now, the second point I want to mention is that the WHO also standard is given as a 4-step. The first step, this PM 10 will be, as I mentioned, at 35, then 25, then 15, then 10, then 5. We should not take the final one just now, immediately. Today's all the newspaper, all the media has taken the final standard and start comparing with our standard. They have given the 4 interim standard and then final standard, number 1. Number 2, the number of deaths due to air pollution is not concluded because there is no evidence like that. And second thing is that these are based upon some modeling studies, and modeling the input data is very important. If you take the input data, which is based upon to compare with the WHO air quality standard, then this figure will come. So we should be very careful and take the Indian standard. And third point I have mentioned, as I already told, that during the lockdown period when every activities was standstill, still the PM 2.5 was 22 to 26. That means the baseline background level of the PM 2.5 in our country due to the tropical regions is this much. So we cannot cut down that one. So if you want to achieve this 5 microgram of WHO standard, is not possible in our country. If you close down everything, all vehicles, all industries,
right. Fair enough, Dr. Sengupta. Point taken, Dr. Sengupta, your point is taken that WHO cannot be held as the standard as far as India is concerned,
Yes,
but that
yes,
is just just a marking, just a indication of what good air quality should be and what the WHO considers as good air quality. But that doesn't go to say that we don't have an air pollution problem. We have a severe air pollution problem, and in fact, yes,
our standard,
yes,
we should
and that is what the topic, that is what we are discussing at this point in time.
Yeah.
Yes, right. And
What
Tuheen
I
Sinha,
want
if I can bring you here in, just on this point of what the Indian standards should be, there is a serious need right now to reassess, to reevaluate, and, relook at what we consider good air quality in the Indian context.
Avni, in the last 7 years, we have taken a holistic view of the situation, and instead of looking for a quick fix solution, we have made a concerted attempt to move India from fuel-based economy to gas-based economy, because that is where the crux of the problem insofar as environmental pollution is concerned lies. Now, as far as the Paris Agreement is concerned, under the Paris Agreement, India had 3 quantifiable, nationally determined contributions to make. Number 1, lowering the emissions intensity of our GDP by 33 to 35% by 2030. Number 2, to create additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons through reforestation rather. And number 3 was to ensure that India, meets its target of achieving 40% of our electric power installed capacity by 2030. From fossil fuel sources. Now, insofar as the third objective is concerned, let me assure you that that would have required 450 gigawatt of renewable energy to be in place by 2030. We have already ensured 100 gigawatt, and we are on course to achieving 150 gigawatt by 2022. Now, the initiation of hydrogen mission is another giant step in that direction. So like I said, we have taken a very holistic view of the situation. In fact, India is one of the very few countries to consistently meet the targets of the Paris Agreement. But yes, at the same time, when you consider the problem at a local level, let's take the example of Delhi, which always has this problem of air pollution and particularly of excessive PM 2.5, presence in the air throughout the winter months. Now, the last time this problem occurred was in 2019, and at that point of time, 900 crores accumulated as a green fund remained unspent by the Delhi government. So while the central government remains committed to ensuring better air quality, I think the state governments also need to take some onus, especially those state governments which are, which have shown unabashed alacrity to spend on promotions and publicity. It is very amazing that they don't spend on the green fund lies accumulated and they never spend on that. The installation of giant size air purifying towers, with that amount of 900 crores would have made a huge difference to the entire NCR region.
Right. In fact, all right, Ravi Srivastava, I'm sure you would like to respond to that. The fact here is that in Delhi specifically, it is one of the biggest victims of worsening air pollution, especially at the time when, you have the Diwali season coming, the winter coming, and at the same time, the stubble burning season also coming all together. And we often see, unfortunately, only the steps being taken in a retrospective manner. After the situation worsens, things are done, but nothing seems to be done, beforehand. And even, for example, the Great Action Plan, it gets implemented not in a uniform manner either.
Avni, first of all, I think environmental or air pollution is too big a subject than to have any kind of a politics in it. As far as the Delhi government is concerned, I think the most sensitive towards it. In the North India, Punjab, Haryana, UP and Delhi are the victims of this subtle burning. And I hope you are aware that the Delhi Chief Minister has already devised a particular solution which if it is sprayed, it will not require any kind of a subtle burning at all. And the central government has accepted it, and it is almost a no-cost solution for that. But I think let's not go into that. Let's take this Mr. Sengupta's statement. One thing I fully agree with him. Yes, India people don't die of only air pollution. We have got toxic water also, water pollution. We have got toxic food pollution also. So there are various reasons people die of. But as far as the WHO standards are concerned, I think it should be taken as a benchmark. In all parameters, whether it is PM2.5 or whether PM10 or SO2, NO2, ozone, everywhere our standards are almost 3 to 4 times of what WHO has advised us. So I think we should be working on long-term solutions, which are like converting to electric vehicles. I think after fossil fuel, the gas is also not a solution. Let us go for electric-driven vehicles. Let us have the solar energy more. Let us have a non-conventional other energy sources like hydro and all, which do not create any pollution as such. Over and above, afforestation is the need of the hour. It should be and avoid at least cutting the grown-up trees. You must see in a few days before in the Bangalore, the kids who are doing the Chipko movement and stopping the municipality from cutting the trees. And this movement is going on in a large scale in Uttarakhand and other places also. At least when whosoever is the planner, whosoever is doing the industrialization, urbanization, all those things must remember that trees should not be cut. Let the project cost may go up a little, but I think that a deforestation will cause much more damage. Like one panelist already said, even PM2.5 is so dangerous, it can go up to the bloodstream. And you have seen that the industrialized states like Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh, the average life has already reduced by more than 2.5 to 3 years. So I think it will be just an excuse to say that the standards set by WHO are very high and we are a tropical country and we have got different kind of geographies across the country. So it will be very difficult to reach to those levels. I agree those are benchmark, but we have to work in that direction. And we have to see that most of the many vehicles, many trains, the metro services in the urban areas, and also when in the urban areas where the construction activity is going on, which is the main cause of creating the PM2.5 and PM10, I think there must be controlled activities so that the pollution does not get into the air and people don't get affected. And my request will be that apart from air pollution, the government has to address on water pollution and the food solution, toxicity in the medicines also. All such parameters all should be taken into consideration while they are working on controlling the environment protection. I think this is the main cause. And I think WHO has come out with a wonderful report and they have revised it after 16 years. So we should also revise our standards even in 10 years or 12 years, and we should see to it that we adhere to it and try to reach to it. Yeah.
Okay. Right. All right. Dr. Praveen Chandra, you've heard, what all our other panelists have to say, but at the end of the day, it comes down and it all boils down to the kind of health impact that the rising pollution levels are having and the kind of deaths and the increase in respiratory ailments. In fact, even before the pandemic hit in Delhi, you had people using, air purifiers and masks and all at the peak of the worst air quality. What is your own experience? How have you seen the impact of the deteriorating air quality?
Okay, so we heard very interesting thoughts about controlling air pollution and what we should do about it. But let me tell you, the debate is not this, that whether we have to follow this guideline or that guideline. The debate is that we have to recognize that pollution is the very big problem. It's one of the greatest killers of mankind today. It is, I can tell you that the World Heart Federation published a report in 2019. And the topic of that report was that this is the invisible killer. So if we don't want to see that killer, we are really fooling ourselves. and trying to debate whether we should have this guideline or that guideline, whether we should follow the WHO or our guidelines. The point here is that the action has to be taken. We are living in a fool's paradise if we keep discussing that. We have to take action, and why we have to take action? Because 30% of lung cancer is because of pollution. 1/4 of death from stroke, which is paralysis, is because of pollution. 1/4 of death because of heart disease is because of pollution. And this has been recognized. And if you look at the lung diseases, in India, the lung diseases have really gone to such a great extent. And unfortunately, we do not have much treatment for lung diseases. Of course, for heart, we have heart bypass surgeries, angioplasties, which we can do. But for them, we cannot do this. And why all this happens? Because these small particles of PM2.5 and less actually enter through our nose, through our breathing. They go into the circulation and then start leading to these problems in the arteries of the body. They clog these arteries, they affect the pancreatic cells, cause more diabetes, more high blood pressure, and that is all such a huge problem. And we spend so much money, so much of resources are spent on all this. So we have to recognize this problem. It is our own problem. India is, of course, as you heard, you also showed on these slides, and also everybody said that India is one of the hot spots where pollution is very, very big. So we have to take action now. And if we don't take action now, the death rates, the disease rates will keep on increasing, and us doctors will be more busy and, of course, inundated by the disease, which is very, very gruesome, I must say.
Yes, absolutely. And Dr. Chandra, I have a follow-up question. Specifically, I want you to talk about the impact on young children, on babies, because the number of children with diseases like asthma are only increasing. I know personally of people who have decided to move away from Delhi at the cost of the parents, at the cost of their careers, because they have young children who are suffering, who couldn't go out to play. There's so many other effects and repercussions of the worsening pollution levels.
Of course, as I said already, that was a snapshot of what is happening on people who are elderly, who are having pre-existing problems, where the disease is further, enhanced, and they come to hospitals much earlier. They die much earlier. And this is happening worldwide. And for us in India also, the children are also on the target of this invisible killer, which actually leads to reduction in the performances of these children, reduction in the growth of these children. And of course, once these particles actually start accumulating in the lungs, then they develop lung disease much earlier. And asthma is also one of the serious issues, which is affecting children who are going, in urban areas much more than in the rural areas. So this is something which is creating a huge impact on the health of our society. And of course, if we don't take care of this problem of pollution, it is really going to be a serious issue. And as I said already, that we have to recognize this for each and every individual. Nobody is spared. And unless until we take care of this thing by, of course, there are so many people sitting here who have much more knowledge about how to do it. Certainly, we have to take action now. I must say that.
Yes, absolutely, Dr. Chandra. In fact, Tuhin Sinha, the question really is, you spoke about, the larger the points and the larger things that the government is doing to try and address this in a wholesome manner. But unfortunately, the fact is that on ground, nothing changes. And year after year, we seem to be having the same discussions. We seem to be having the same blame games, the center versus the states versus other states. None of it really comes together at any point in time. And do we see actually a change on ground and the real problem actually being addressed?
With the density of population that most Indian cities have today, and that density of population also reflects in the density of vehicular traffic on Indian roads. So with that high level of density, things are not expected to change immediately. Ideally, this transition into electro-mobility, this transition into solar and espousal of solar energy should have started, at least a decade ago. Because in the last 6 or 7 years, the way we have made India into a solar hub, the increased espousal and acceptance of solar energy, all of these are going to make a difference. But it will take its share of, the number of years required from here. Because like I said, if you look for quick fix solutions, probably, individual municipal corporations, the local self-governments can install air purifying towers. That is something which can give you immediate solutions. But then again, there are local governments which have not been acting upon it, because, in a 3-tier system of government, there are policy decisions which the central government takes. But then at the local level, all of these governments have green funds, which we would advise should be spent productively and, urgently, which lie unspent. So it will have to be a collective effort between the center and the states. The center.
Right. Tuhin Sinha, my apologies for interrupting you, but I have to bring this, I just want to bring this into the debate right now, because Haryana, I'm just reading here, Haryana is now seeking to ease off the anti-pollution rules in NCR. In fact, the Chief Minister has said that these provisions should be implemented only within a radius of 10 kilometers of the National Capital Territory and should be district specific, and it goes on as such. So obviously there is some disconnect here, because people and leaders and chief ministers are not realizing what the implication and impact and how grave this problem is. On one hand, here we are talking about Haryana Chief Minister who's wanting to reduce the anti-pollution measures. On the other hand, in Punjab, for example, with the elections coming up, there is going to be no curbing on stubble burning. So you might see even a worsening of the air quality this time round going ahead as well. So obviously there is a big disconnect in what is needed to be done and what is happening.
The environment needs to be kept out of politics. So if any CM, and that includes BJP CMs, is acting in a way that is detrimental to the environment for vested political interests, we as a party would not support it. And through your channel, I would appeal. I'm not privy to the exact details of the Haryana.
But it's still happening, Tuhin Sinha. It's still happening. You keep saying that politics needs to be kept out of it. Ravi Srivastava says politics needs to be kept out of it. But politics has never been kept out of it. What we've been seeing over the past several years, it's all about politics. It's all about government's self-interest. If elections are coming up, things change. If there are no elections coming up, it's another stand. Politics is a part of it. So you have to come up with a solution whereby all of this is dealt with.
I spoke about the solution. The solution is a complete overhaul of India's energy requirements. We have successfully forayed into that transition from fuel-based economy to gas economy, and you will see the larger difference in the years to come. Unfortunately, in a democracy, even, we don't have the powers to force a certain state government to toe our line, but a larger change is already visible in the large quantity and in the way we are espousing electromobility and green energy.
All right. In fact, let's talk, turn a little bit to the kind of solutions that we've seen. We've seen things like smog towers being put up, especially in Delhi, or even scheme being implemented. Of course, the graded action plan as well is one of the other parts of it. And Professor Srivastava, in terms of the entire solutions that are coming up, these kind of things, do they actually work? I mean, we see the odd even scheme, for example, but two-wheelers, which are one of the biggest contributors, they are exempted. The graded action plan, it doesn't get implemented throughout NCR region properly in a holistic manner. So once again, the impact of that is largely limited, and we still don't have enough evidence of whether these smog towers actually work. So what would you say in terms of the actual impact of these kind of measures that are being put in place?
Delhi is not, although it is presently at the top as far as air pollution is concerned, but it has never been at the top. Prior to this, Beijing, Shanghai, Mexico City, Tokyo, they had been worst as far as air pollution is concerned. But they have taken measures, and in fact, results are there. But for the last 3-4 years, Delhi is continuously on the top. And let me tell you, put one more fact, that out of 20 most polluted air polluted city in world, 17 are in India. So now you can imagine the situation. So if we take any measures, if you are as smog towers or other things we're talking about, that is mainly pertaining to Delhi. But 17 cities of India are in top 20 rankings. So a holistic approach should be there, nationwide approach should be there, because as far as our speaker, his doctor, he also said that this is becoming the biggest killer, and more or less, maybe in next 5 or 6 years, if situation remains like this, maybe 50% of total deaths would be because of the air pollution. And as far as measures are concerned, let me tell you, this smog situation, the persisting smog situation was first seen in 2017. People were very disturbed. Government also took some measures. I think in 17 or 18, they come up with the solution of odd and even, but sooner or later, people purchased the second car with a different number. If they had the odd number, they purchased a new car with the even number, or they managed somehow. So almost 4 or 5 years have gone, but the situation remains same. Fortunately, last year, because of the lockdown, we didn't have this smog situation. So as far as the other, I mean, a smog tower is concerned, odd even system is concerned, I don't think that it is going to give any permanent result. Instead, we should continuously throughout of the year, we should work over it. It is not that in the month of October or November, we should come up with the solution that let us ban the crackers or let us go for the odd even. No, it's not good. And for the remaining year, we should be calm. So we'll have to continuously work over here. There are many solutions, because I already said there are cities, there are examples that they have come up with the solution. They change themselves. And if we learn from them, it is might possible that we can also improve our situation. It is not that we will not be able to do. Thank you.
All right. Ravi Srivastava, just on that point of what we see very often, especially in Delhi, in terms of implementing the odd-even scheme, for example, the Greater Action Plan, is there anything different that's going to happen this year? Because the odd-even scheme has time and again proven that it does not work. In fact, if you look at the first time it happened, the pollution levels were identical. The second time, it was 54% higher than the previous year. In the third time, the air quality was still worse than the previous years as well. So obviously, none of it works. And even the Greater Action Plan doesn't get implemented properly. So it just seems like when the situation turns bad, we see the Delhi government scrambling to put measures into place to make it look like something is being done. And this time we are possibly going to in for a worse period, because we're probably not going to see anything happen in terms of stubble burning in Punjab.
Avni, first of all, Delhi is not a culprit. Delhi hardly has got any fields of its own or farms of its own. All the Delhi bears the brunt of what is happening in Punjab and Haryana. And the wind direction is such that it blows from the west towards east. So that all pollution comes in and it settles down in the winter months, and all these things, these phenomena we are witnessing for several years. Now, as far as I just told my previous statement, that Delhi government has developed technology and the solution for handling this subtle burning at fields. So I think Delhi has given the solution, which is to be implemented by the Punjab and Haryana. And as far as Delhi Chief Minister is concerned, I think he has already issued a statement that we are going to have it in another 15 or 20 days, because normally this pollution levels start rising in Delhi from 15th October onwards, and this remains almost the entire winter season. So I think he has already brought in the program for that, a plan for that. Whether it is a odd even, because odd even is resisted by people. Some friend has just now said it, that people go, they buy different number of vehicles, and so that they can just escape that particular process. The people should not bring their vehicles on the road, which is the objective. And major number of the vehicles should be converted to CNG, gas, or electric vehicle. I think that's a solution, which is a long-term solution, because as far as Delhi is concerned, Delhi does not have a land of its own. So Delhi has to depend upon the center to provide the land for putting up the depots where those vehicles will be parked. Even the vehicles can be purchased by the Delhi government, but they have no place for parking it. They need depots for that, and for depots they need a land for that. So that is where they are dependent upon the central government for all their measures which they are going to take. But as far as whatever is available in their command, they are going to put up in Delhi and see to it. Now, I'll come out of Delhi for that matter. I'll tell you that if you see, there was a big case in Maharashtra, in Mumbai, for that Metro Line 2-3, where the major deforestation or the forest cutting was going to happen in the RA area, which is the green lung for Mumbai, and how people resisted and how the matter went up to the Honorable Supreme Court, and the things were stopped. So my point here is, instead the courts directing the government, you do like this or you do like that, it should be the government itself should adopt to those measures, not government, even the municipalities which are under them, they should adopt to these measures. That there should be a minimal damage to the particular environment in that area. ये विकास और विनाश की कहानी में, I hope you are well aware that Kerala state has not allowed to come up any big emitting plant or a factory or an industry in their state. They encourage to the electronic industry, which is the minimum pollution creating industry. And as a result, they have saved their environment, their greenscaping, their forestation to a very great extent. And they are benefited because of that, with the good rains and all those things are there. The climate is good, it's a tourist point. So such things do happen in several states. Even Goa was doing it long before, but of late Goa has also gone off, and they have allowed the mining and all those things, which is in destroying the climate and environment pollution it creates. So such are the situations that my friend said just now. 17 cities. Right. So this pollution is a urban problem. Majority, it is an urban problem where it should be checked by using electric vehicles, solar energy, or non-conventional non-fossil energy sources, so that the environment remains protected, air quality remains good and within the limit.
Okay. All right. Dr. Sengupta, important point that Ravi Srivastava also brought up is with regard to how the courts have been, the Supreme Court as well has constantly been bringing up this entire issue. Obviously, it's not satisfied with the way things are being handled and what's being done on ground. And we've seen back-to-back hearings as far as the top court is concerned over this entire pollution problem. Do you think that now, at least with all of this, we are going to see a change in the way policymakers are looking at pollution, in the way state governments, central government, all of them will look at this entire issue?
Yeah, I think one thing I would like to bring that last 3-4 years, based upon the recommendation of Central Pollution Control, few things. One is that the only use of PNG instead of coal in the small-scale industry. That is a very good step. And most of the NCR industry, small-scale industry, they are converted to PNG, that piped natural gas. That is one thing. Second one, the old power plants are being closed down. That is also a very good step. Only the new power plants and with new power plants with the flue gas desulfurization for SO2 control are only allowed. Number 3, all the governments, state governments and central government have announced that the electric vehicles, more than 30% of the electric vehicles by 2025. And that is very great game changer, I think. That will reduce drastically the pollution. Then as Mr. Sinha has mentioned, that the solar power and wind power, we are going up to 450,000 megawatt, that is 450 gigawatt of the non-conventional energy-based power plant. That is also a game changer. And then the issue like closing down the old power stations and the Bharat State 6 standard, which is started from April 2020. That is also will be giving great relief to the air pollution. So all these activities which the government has already initiated through, as per the recommendation of the CPCB and MOEF, I think it will give the fruits, improve the air quality. But 2-3 things I want to mention. That one is that our PUC type of measurement is not giving the desired results. we have all over India that PUC, that is the on-road vehicles testing procedure. I think we have to amend it, and the remote sensing based methodology should be adopted, which is the more advanced thing, rather than the we are going to the petrol station and taking a sample by using a carbon monoxide analyzer. That will not give this thing. And second one, other industry, the polluting industry, right, we have to control the emissions. Yeah. So these are the two things. Regarding our court thing, court are giving the very good judgment based upon the recommendation of the either EPCA or the commission, newly formed commission, or by the CPCB. I think these are the very good thing. And when the court gives the judgment, implementation is very fast. I think court, especially the Honorable NGT and Honorable Supreme Court directives are very important for control of air pollution in whole, as a whole in India.
Right. Dr. Chandra, I want to come to you here because obviously we've heard so many different aspects of things that are being done, measures, the larger, issues that are being addressed that even Tuhin Sinha was talking about. But has there been any impact at all in terms of what you're seeing on ground? And the second part of my question is, going forward, if this continues in this way, and we don't see a significant reduction in or significant bettering of the air quality, how bad will things get from a health perspective?
Okay. So, as you can understand now that this is a serious problem. This is a serious disease of the world and our country in particular. And as we see that many measures are needed to be done, some on the acute basis immediately and some on a long-term basis, because there are so many steps which have to be taken to prevent this problem. This is a preventable problem. And unless until we take measures, we cannot make any big impact, as we have seen already that we had that, odd even thing which happened in Delhi. But that's a very minuscule thing because air's mix up. It's not only Delhi which is compartmentalized. Everything around is equally affected. So we must not keep debating that the odd event didn't do anything. We should debate that odd event was not enough. Many more things need to be done. It is not to say that odd event doesn't need to be done. It is a good thing to be done. Any small step is a good thing to be done. And I think it was a good step, certainly. But it just gave us a message that please do more. It is not enough. So unless until we do that, unless until we make measures, which has been done. So I think, we have to learn from the lessons which so many cities in the world have learned. And as somebody was mentioning about New York City, about Tokyo, about Beijing, they were such, largely polluted cities in the world. And today, if you look at the air quality index of New York City, if you look at the air quality index of Beijing, they are less than 50. Sometimes they are less than 20. So how did that all happen? So once it has all been done, so that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can learn from those lessons and implement them. It's so simple. Rather than trying to make a new thinking about it. Yes, of course, adaptations have to be done to our country. I'm not saying that whatever they did, you do the same thing, right. But certainly you can similarly to get those effects. And if we do that, we will have a lasting impact on our society in terms of health and disease prevention.
Yes, absolutely, Dr. Ravin Chandra, point completely taken here. All of these are extremely valid issues and need to be looked at very closely. I'd like to thank all my panelists for joining us on this very important discussion. But this discussion, this debate does not end here. Unfortunately, we are most likely going to see the worsening air quality happening as we go along into the next few months, because like I earlier pointed out, it all comes together, whether you look at the winter season, this time when the stubble burning happens, of course the festive Diwali season, all of that comes together and things become very bad. The question is, will these words and these comments by the WHO, will what all of is happening right now, will all of that serve as a red flag, as the warning signals, as alarm bells for all of the policy makers, by the government, by the center, by the states? And will they finally do something to ensure that we don't become worse from here and slowly at least start getting better? That's the question I leave you with. Thanks so much for watching. We'll slip into a very quick break at this point.